Iris wrote songs that came true. Not all of them. Only the ones she really meant. Only the ones she wrote late at night, alone, with her fingers bleeding onto the piano keys and her heart doing something stupid in her chest. She discovered this power when she was 16. She wrote a sad song about a boy who never called her back. The next morning, his phone broke. Permanently. She wrote an angry song about her neighbor's barking dog. The dog went silent. Not dead, just quiet. As if it had forgotten how to make noise. She never told anyone. Some powers are too strange to share. At 24, she was a struggling musician in a small apartment with thin walls and a piano that was missing 3 keys. She played in subway stations and tiny bars. People liked her voice. They didn't know her secret. Then she met Ezra. Ezra was a sound engineer with calloused fingertips and a laugh that started in his stomach and moved up like an earthquake. He was tall, awkward, kind in a way that made her suspicious, because kind people, she had learned, were either hiding something or about to leave. He didn't leave. He showed up at her shows. He recorded her demos for free. He brought her soup when she was sick and didn't try to kiss her when she was vulnerable. He just sat there, fixing her broken piano key one by one, humming along to songs she hadn't even finished writing. "You're going to be famous someday," he told her. "I don't want to be famous," she said. "What do you want?" She looked at his hands, those long, gentle fingers that knew exactly where to press on a mixing board, on her piano, on her shoulder when she was sad. "You," she said. He kissed her that night. It was soft, slow, and tasted like cheap coffee. She wrote a song about it the next morning. The song was called Static and Silence. The song came true. They moved in together 6 months later. He built her a small recording booth in their living room. She wrote him love songs, silly songs, songs about burnt toast and tangled headphones, and the way he snored when he slept on his back. Every song came true. Not in big, dramatic ways. The world didn't change, but their world did. Every lyric she wrote about them became real. She wrote about lazy Sundays. They started having lazy Sundays. She wrote about him leaving his socks on the floor. He started leaving his socks on the floor. She wrote about growing old together, and for the first time in her life, she believed in a future. Ezra knew about her power. She told him on their 1-year anniversary. She expected him to be scared. He wasn't. "So you're a wizard," he said. "I'm not a wizard. You write songs, and they happen. That's wizard stuff. That's not a real word." "Wizard? It's absolutely a real word." She laughed. She loved him so much it hurt. "Does it work on other people?" he asked. "I don't know. I've never tried." "Don't," he said. "Just write songs about us. Just write songs about me." So she did. For 2 years, she wrote only about him. About his laugh. About his coffee order, black, no sugar, which she thought was a personality flaw. About the small scar above his right eyebrow. He'd gotten it falling off a stage during a college gig. About the way he said her name like it was a song in itself. Life was good. Life was easy. Life was a love song on repeat. Then she got writer's block. Not the usual kind. The kind where you stare at a blank page and feel nothing. This was worse. This was staring at the blank page and feeling everything. Too much. All at once. Love and fear and the creeping suspicion that happiness was just a waiting room for disaster. She stopped writing. The songs stopped coming true. Their life became ordinary. Not bad, just ordinary. Lazy Sundays became lazy. Socks stayed on the floor. The future stopped feeling like a promise and started feeling like a hallway with no doors. Ezra noticed. "You haven't written anything in months," he said one night. "I'm blocked. Can I help?" "No." "Is it me?" "No. It's me." "Ezra, stop." He stopped. But the silence between them grew. It filled the apartment like water. She could feel it rising, up to her ankles, her knees, her chest. She wanted to write. She wanted to fix it. But every time she sat at the piano, her hands froze. Then she got scared. Not of losing him. Of something worse. Of using her power to keep him when he might want to leave. Of being a puppet master instead of a partner. Of loving him so hard that she erased the difference between his feelings and hers. So she did something stupid. She decided to test it. She wrote a sad song. A small one. Not about him. About a character in her head. A fictional girl who loved a fictional boy, and then the boy left. Just a story. Just a few lines. She sang it once, alone, at midnight. The next morning, Ezra's toothbrush was gone. His coffee mug was gone. His headphones, his laptop, his favorite hoodie, the gray one with the torn sleeve, all gone. The closet was half empty. The recording booth in the living room was just a room with foam on the walls. She called him. The number was disconnected. She called his mother. "Who is this?" his mother said. "I don't have a son." She called his friends. They didn't know an Ezra. They had never heard that name. She checked his social media. It didn't exist. His email. His Bandcamp page. His fingerprints on her piano keys. Still there, physically still there, but no one else could see them. When she tried to show someone, the prints vanished under their gaze. He wasn't dead. He was unwritten. Her song hadn't made him leave. It had made him never exist. Iris sat on the floor of her apartment for 3 days. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She just stared at the piano, the one he had fixed, the one with all the keys working now because of him, and tried to understand. The power wasn't just creation. It was retroactive. When she wrote a song that came true, it didn't just shape the future. It rewrote the past. Every love song she'd written about Ezra hadn't predicted their happiness. It had caused it. Every lyric had woven him into her life, thread by thread. And the breakup song, the one she'd written about a fictional girl and a fictional boy, had unwoven him. Because the song was sad. Because she meant it. Because somewhere in her stupid, scared heart, she had believed for one terrible second that maybe it would be easier if he had never existed at all. She hadn't meant it. But the power didn't care about intent. It only cared about truth. And the truth was, she had been afraid. And fear, poured into a song, is just as powerful as love. On the 4th day, she stood up. She walked to the piano. She placed her fingers on the keys, the ones he had fixed, the ones that still held the ghost of his touch. "Okay," she said to the empty room. "I'm going to write you back." She wrote for 48 hours straight. She wrote about his laugh, the earthquake laugh. She wrote about his coffee order, black, no sugar, disgusting. She wrote about the scar above his right eyebrow, the way he got it falling off a stage. She wrote about his hands, his voice, his terrible cooking, his beautiful heart. She wrote about their first kiss, their first fight, the time he stayed up all night with her when she had the flu, the time she accidentally deleted his entire project file, and he didn't get angry. He just sighed and said, "Guess I'll make better music now." She wrote about the future, about growing old, about socks on the floor and burnt toast, and the sound of his snoring through the thin walls. She wrote a love song, a real one, the truest one she had ever written. She called it Static and Silence, Reprise. Then she sang it. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. Tears fell on the keys and made them slippery. But she didn't stop. She sang until her throat was raw. She sang until the words became sounds, and the sounds became something bigger than language. When she finished, the apartment was still empty. She waited. 1 minute. 5. 10. Nothing. She put her head on the piano and cried. She cried for everything she had done, everything she had lost, every stupid choice that had led her to this moment alone. Then she felt it. A hand on her shoulder. Warm. Calloused. Familiar. Iris. She looked up. Ezra stood behind her. He was wearing the gray hoodie with the torn sleeve. He had dark circles under his eyes, and his hair was a mess, and he looked confused, like someone who had just woken up from a very long dream. "What happened?" he asked. "Where was I?" She grabbed him. She held him so tight she felt his heartbeat against her chest. Real, solid, alive. "You were gone," she whispered. "How long?" 3 days. He looked around the apartment, at the empty takeout containers, at the piano bench covered in crumpled paper, at her swollen eyes and raw lips. "You wrote me back," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "Don't ever do that again." "I won't." "Promise." "Promise." He kissed her forehead. Then he sat down next to her on the piano bench. "Play it for me," he said. "Play what?" "The song. The one that brought me back." She looked at the keys. Her hands were still shaking, but she placed her fingers where they belonged, on the notes he had taught her to love, and she began to play. The song was different now. Slower. Deeper. It wasn't just a love song anymore. It was a song about fear and forgiveness. About breaking something and putting it back together. About the terrible, wonderful, impossible power of choosing someone. Not because you have to, but because you keep choosing them, over and over, even when you're scared. Ezra listened. He didn't say anything. He just put his head on her shoulder and closed his eyes. When she finished, the room was quiet. "The song is good," he said. "It's okay. It's really good." She laughed. It was a wet, broken sound, but it was real. "Don't write any more breakup songs," he said. "Don't give me a reason to," she said. He smiled. That smile, the one that started in his stomach and moved up like an earthquake. "I won't," he said. She believed him. They lived in that small apartment for 3 more years. Ezra built a proper studio. Iris wrote an album, her first real album, the one that would make her famous, just like he'd predicted. The songs were all about him. Every single one. Critics called it the most honest love album of the decade. Listeners called it too sad to be happy, too happy to be sad. Iris called it static and silence. The title track was the first song she ever wrote about him. The last track was the one that brought him back. In between were all the moments they almost lost each other. She never wrote another breakup song. Not a real one. Sometimes, when they fought, and they did fight, because they were human and love is not a fairy tale, she would sit at the piano and stare at the keys. The temptation was always there. One sad song, one small, angry lyric, and he would be gone again. But she didn't write it. Instead, she wrote about forgiveness. About burnt toast. About the way he left his socks on the floor, and the way she left her coffee cups everywhere, and the way neither of them ever changed. Those songs came true too. And that was the real lesson. Not that love conquers all, but that love is a choice you make every single day, sometimes every single minute. And the only power that matters is the power to keep choosing. Iris and Ezra are still together. They have a house now. A real one, with a garden and a dog who steals socks. The piano is in the living room, next to a window that looks out at the mountains. Sometimes, late at night, Iris plays the old songs. The sad ones. The ones she wrote before she knew how dangerous her gift could be. Ezra listens from the couch. He doesn't tell her to stop. He knows she won't write them into reality, because those songs belong to the past, and she's already written the future.